Hello and welcome to our 30th session where we are going to talk about particle system and sound effects. In our previous session, we added a lot of polish to this prototype when we implemented those animations. But if you really want a polished product, you need two things: sound effects and particle system. If you don't believe me, just compare this to this. That second one, that's what we want. Well, by the end of this session, your prototype will have background music, it will have particles flying up behind the character's feet, a jumping sound effect, and an incredible explosion when the player collides with an object. Programming particle effect is pretty straightforward. You just attach a particle effect to the player and decide when to play and when to pass them. Sound, on the other hand, is slightly different because you are working in a 3D environment. Sound in Unity works just like it does in the real world. You have audio sources that create sound, kind of like a speaker, and you have audio listeners that detect sound, kind of like your ears. What the audio listener hears is what the player will hear. We just have to program the audio source to play sound so that your audio listener can hear it. And to make all that happen, let's dive into Unity. As usual, launch Unity Hub and come into the project, and we have our previous session project Jumping Force 6. Click on it to launch it. If you doesn't have these project files, don't worry, you can come into new project and here choose Universal 3D SRP, come into project name, and I am going to call this as Jumping Force 7, and in eUnity project I am going to click on create project. Now as Unity launches and the project is getting loaded, come into your YouTube page or the e-learning page, scroll down, and in the description if you click more, you are provided with a Patreon link. Click on this Patreon link. Now coming into Junior Programmer Series Patreon page, if you scroll down, you have a file 30 jumping game sound particle effects start.unity package. Click on this to download it. Once Unity is launched, if your layout is not like what you are seeing here, you can come here on the right side on the layout and choose Satvik. If Satvik is not present, you are provided with Satvik_layout.wlt file. Click on this to download it, and in Unity layout, click on load layout from file, choose this downloaded layout file and click on it. The layout on my video and the layout on your machine will be the same. Now coming back into the project, you have a readme file here which is not needed. Come into the inspector and you have remove readme asset. Click on it, and in the confirmation window click on proceed. Come into the project panel, select asset, right click, come to import package, custom package, and you select Unity package that you downloaded from the Patreon page and click on open. In the import Unity package dialog box, see that all is selected and click on the import button. Once it is imported, come into scene and double click jumping game to open it. Now I will select the player, come into the scene view, press F, and I will alt left click and turn around. We want to add particle effects like smoke, dust, and to add these kind of effects, if you come into the hierarchy, right click. If you come here in effects, you have particle system. You can add particle system from here, but for this project, if you come into the project panel, open course library, you have particles, and if you open it, there are two particles already present to you. One is the effects Dirt Splatter and another is the effects explosion smoke. First, we are going to add the smoke effect which will appear when our player collides with the obstacle. I will select this and drag it into the scene. I will first come into transform and I will reset it to 0, 0, 0. To see this effect, you see a particle overlay on your scene, and if I click play, it is going to play. Restart will restart it and it will stop. When you select this effects explosion smoke, if you come into the inspector, you have particle system. And you can also open the editor and control all the components here. I will just close it, and here you can set different values. For example, you have velocity over time, and if I set it for example to 10, it is going to play very fast. See? So now I will set this back to 2, you can change the color, rotation, you have so many options over here. Now I will close this. This FX explosion smoke, I want this smoke to move along with my player because we doesn't know where exactly is going to collide with the obstacle. As he is moving, this particle also should move with the player. So we are going to drag this FX explosion smoke and drop it on player. FX explosion smoke became a child of the player. And one more important thing here is when you select FX explosion smoke and come into the inspector, in the particle system, you have one play on awake option. If you enable it, as soon as the game starts, this is going to play. But that shouldn't happen. It should play only whenever player collides with the obstacle. See that this play on awake is switched off. We want this explosion to happen when the player hits the obstacle. Say for example, I am going to play this, and when it is running, see now when he comes and collides, I want this to happen. I am doing it manually now by clicking on the play button here. So, and also the position is not correctly placed. So I will stop the playback. I will select this FX explosion smoke. Collision happens this waist level. So I will move this particle system to his waist level like this. Alt left click, turn around and see this is the point. So I have set it along the y axis by 1.2 and along z I have moved it by 0.2. Go to file. I will save this. In the player controller script, we have defined this on collision enter. I will now come here into scripts, open it, select player controller script and double click to open it in Visual Studio Code. When it's asked to trust the author, click here yes I trust the author. Just like we declared a variable to assign rigid body and animator, similar to that, after that line number 8 I will press enter, add two forward slashes, create a variable to hold particle system for explosion. Now I will press enter and this will be public, and I am going to call this particle system and I am going to give it the name as explosion P capital particle and end it with semicolon. In start, we are not going to assign any component like this. We are going to do that in the inspector. I will show it later. So if you scroll down, I will now come into on collision enter, and in line 58, after setting my integer depth type into 1, I will come to next line and I will now call this explosion particle. I will press period. There is a function called play, end it with open close flower bracket and end it with semicolon. Here there is spelling error. So if I come here, one T is extra, and also here I will come to file, save it, and now if I come back to Unity, allow the script to compile, I have to now come to the player and in player control attach this explosion particle. So I am now going to drag this FX explosion smoke and drag it into this explosion particle. I will come to file, save this, and now if I play the game and if I test it, see he is running and he comes and hits the obstacle, and you can immediately see how the explosion is happening. Now one issue I am facing here is if I stop the playback and if I play back again, see when the player comes and hits the obstacle, the particle is playing behind the ground. To avoid it, I will stop the playback, come into this FX explosion smoke, and in the inspector, in the particle system, if you scroll down, here you have one renderer mode. Click on this renderer mode, and if you scroll down, you have an option here, order in layer. Instead of 0, I will set its value to 1. Now I will go to file, save it, and now if I execute the game and if I now check it, see the player comes and as he hits the obstacle, now you see that the particle effect is coming in the front. So now I will stop the playback. We are going to add another particle effect, which is that when he is running, a kind of dirt particle should come out of his shoes. So for that, if you come into the project, in course library, if you come into the particles folder, you have another dust particle called as FX Dirt Splatter. Now I am going to drag this and put it into my scene. I will come into the transform and I will reset its position to 0, 0, 0. Now I will select the player, press F to move close to him, and I am going to select Dirt Splatter. In the inspector you can see play on awake is on. So this particle will be continuously playing. So now I will drag this and attach it to my player. I will come into my scene view, select the player, alt click and turn around, and I will select Dirt Splatter. The direction of my Dirt Splatter is not correct. So if I take it along the Z axis, see it is rotating. I will set the Z rotation to minus 180 degree. So I will just zoom in, right click, turn around, middle mouse click. So okay, the dust is going back, and I will slightly lift it to the top, and along the X axis I will move it little to the top like this. So I will set it by X also minus 90, then Y minus 90 and Z minus 180. So this appears to be fine. Now I will go to file, save it. So now if I play the game and if I check it, the dust is not visible now because it is going below the ground placed. I will just stop the playback. I will come into Dirt Splatter, and in the inspector particle system come into renderer, and in renderer I open it, and here in the order in layer I will set it to 1 and then come to file, save it. And now if I run and check it, so now he is running and you can see the dust particle coming out. But after he crashes with the obstacle, even then you can see the particle is flowing out. If I stop the playback and run again, see now when I jump also, the dust is coming. So when it jumps, I doesn't want the dust particle to come. So we are again going to control it through the script. So I will stop the playback. I will select the player control script, double click to open this. After this public particle system explosion particle in line number 10, I will press enter, add two forward slashes, create a variable to hold particle system for dirt. I will press enter, public, and I will call this particle system, and I am going to call this as dirt particle, and I will end it with semicolon. If I scroll down, you have on jump event. So whenever my player jumps above this is on ground fall, after this player anim, I will press enter, and I am going to call this dirt particle, and I will set it to stop and end it with open close bracket and semicolon. Whenever we jump, the dirt particle playback will stop. Come into the on collision, enter here. If he lands or touches the ground, we have set is on ground to true. Above this, I will press enter. I will call this dirt particle, and here we are going to play it, end it with semicolon. Next, when it comes and hits the obstacle and when the game is over, I doesn't want this to play. Before the explosion particle play, I will press enter. I will call this dirt particle, parade, stop, and I will add open close bracket and end it with semicolon. When it jumps, I want the dirt particle system to stop playing, and when it lands on the ground, foot is in constant collision with the ground, I want it to play, and finally when the game is over, I want this animation to stop. Then I will go to file, save this. I will come back to Unity and allow the script to compile. Now coming back to Unity, now I will start the playback, and as it is playing, if I press the space bar, see dust particles are not coming out, but here there is a bug. I will just stop and play back again. I will play it and check it. See, sometimes when it crashes, it is still the dust splatter is playing. So now if it falls down, see, you doesn't have the dust splatter coming. This is now working fine. So I will stop the playback. We have successfully added both the particle effect. Select the player, press F. I will press Alt, turn around. I want to add sound effects. The first sound I am going to add is a background music. In your hierarchy, if you come and select the main camera, in the main camera, if you come into the inspector, if you scroll down, you have a component called audio listener. In your game, this audio listener is like a ear which is going to listen to the sound that is inside my game, and it is going to reproduce it in the game. One audio listener compulsorily should be in the game, and there should be only one. For me to add an audio, for the main camera itself, I will come into the add component and I will type audio, and here you have one feature here, audio source. So I will click on audio source. Audio generator, I have to add a music file. So if you now come into the asset course library, I will close particles, and below you have sound. If I open it, you have a folder called music. If I open it, there are 3 music tracks. You can select it, and once you select it, if I just drag it here, you get a preview here. I can play and check it. This is one music. I will select the second music. I will stop it and I will select the third music. I find the third music to be good, so I will come back to the main camera. Now I will drag this third music and attach to this audio generator, and as I scroll, I want this to keep on playing in the game. So I will enable loop. This background sound volume, I will set it to something like 0.6. Now I will go to file, save it, and now if I play the game and if I check it, see you have a background score. It keeps playing. So I will now stop the playback. After adding this background music, next we are going to add sound effects. The difference between background music and sound effect is that background music, we are playing it directly by connecting it to the main camera, but sound effects will be called through a script. For example, when the player jumps, I need a particular sound to play, and when the player crashes, I want a different sound to play. We are going to use the script attached to our player, and that is this player control script. So I will come into the project panel, script, and I will select this player control, double click to open it. After line number 12, where we declared the particle system, I will press enter. I will add 2 forward slashes, variable to hold jump sound effect. This is again a public variable, and the type of variable here is audio clip. I am going to now call this as jump sound, and I will end it with semicolon. I am going to press enter, add 2 forward slashes, variable to hold crash sound effect, and press enter, and here again I will call public audio clip. Here I am going to call this as crash sound and end it with semicolon. Then I will go to file and I am going to save it. Coming back to Unity, wait till the script is compiled. Select the player component, and if you come into the player control, here you have 2 more parameters, jump sound and crash sound, and as of now there is no audio clip. I will come into the project panel, course library sound, and I will close the music and I will open the SFX sound. And here again I am going to preview the sounds. I will select jump 1 and play it, jump 2, jump 3. So I will select the jump 2 sound, appears to be fine for me. And also in crash, crash 1, crash 2, crash 3. Crash 1 is better. I will again come back into the player, and scrolling down I will come into the player control script, and for jump sound I will attach the jump 2 sound, and for crash I will attach the crash 1 sound. Now I will go to file and save this. We want these audios to play when he jumps and when he crashes. The first thing I need is select the player. In the inspector, scroll down, come to add component. I am going to type audio and I am going to add an audio source. I will come back into script, player control script, double click to open this. I will come back here after this public audio crash sound, that is after line number 16. I will press enter. I will add 2 forward slashes, variable to assign the audio source. I will press enter. This one I need not make it public. I will keep it private. The type of variable is audio source, and I am going to call this as player audio and end it with semicolon. Since I am declaring it as a private, I have to now come into the start, and after player anim line here in line number 34, I will press enter, add 2 forward slashes, assign the audio source component to my player audio variable. So I will press enter. I am going to call my player audio, and this player audio will now be equal to, I am going to use get component, and here in get component I am going to add lesser than greater than sign, and inside this the component I need is audio source, and I will come out of the greater than sign, and I am now going to add open close brackets and end it with semicolon. Player audio is assigned with the component audio source attached to my player. Then if I scroll down, when the player jumps, I will press enter here, and I am going to call this player audio, and this player audio has to now play. And in play you have various options here, and I am going to select play one shot because I want this to play only once. So I select play one shot, and in open close bracket the first parameter that I have to set here is the name of the audio source variable that I want to play here, coming from this jump sound component, comma, and then I have to set the volume 1.0f, and I will finally end it with semicolon. When he jumps, the player audio is going to play the jump sound at a volume of 1. Now I will select this entire line, Ctrl C to copy it, scroll down, on collision enter. If the game object is obstacle, then before this player anim, as the first line here I will press enter. I am going to press Ctrl V and place this, and only difference here is instead of jump sound here I am going to play crash sound, and this is going to play crash sound, and its volume is also set to 1.0. Now I will come to file, save this, and if I return back to Unity, allow the script to compile, and once it is compiled I will play the game and I will just check it. You have the background music. See, when it crashes you have the crash sound. I will stop and play again. See, jump sound is there. Crash sound is also there. Okay, I will stop the playback. Finally our game is ready, and this needs to be published. I will go to file and come into build profiles. I am going to select the web profile and then come at the bottom and click on switch platform. I am going to come into the player setting, and I am going to give the company name as my name, Satvik. Product is jumping force. I am going to leave others as it is, and as I move down in resolution and presentation I will open this and I will set it to 1270 by 720, and I am going to select the PWA format. Here I can write some description. I am written jumping game here. Finally coming to the publish setting, in compression format I will set it to disabled. Now with all these settings done, I will close the player setting. I will come to open scene list. I will select this sample scene, right click, and I am going to remove it. Now in the project I will close course library, and in scene I will drag my jumping game scene here. I am going to close this. Again I will come to file, build profile. I am going to click on the build button. Now in jumping force 7 I will create a new folder called web, and selecting this folder I will click on select folder, and it is asking me to make a save. I will click save, and now the script compiling is happening and the web version is building. Now if you check, there is an error. If I come into window, general, console, the error is, see, in script span manager there is an error. If I double click it, in the first line there is Unity editor, adaptive performance editor, some line is there. So I will select this entire line, delete it, that is not required, somehow it has got added. I will save it. Now I will come back to Unity, allow the script to get compiled, and once it is compiled I will close the console window. I will go to file, save it, and now if I come into file, build profile, and with web selected, now I will build, select the web and click on the select folder. Now once the build is over, I will open this web folder. I will select all the files, right click, come to compress to, and I will compress it as a zip file. To host it, come into your browser and type Unity Play. come into the play.unity.com site here, and on the right hand avatar logo, click here and click on sign in. Now once you sign in, you can come here, click, and you can click on my games. So all your old games will be available to you here. Click on this upload your game button, select the zipped folder and drag it into this here, or click on upload and choose that file. So wait for the file to get uploaded. Now scroll down, give it a title, Jumping Force Game, and in description, animated and with sound effects. You can also click on upload thumbnail here, and you can select a thumbnail and add it. Then I will scroll down and click on the save button. And if you click on the play button, now you can play the game. So now you can see the game is running with all the sound effects. So now you can copy this entire link and share it in your LinkedIn profile. So with this, we have successfully completed this project, and we have some challenges, and we are going to address it in our next session.